What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the No Fun League, and I think our first, just full-on basketball-focused video, long form. I know that I've done, a couple reactions to, JJ getting hired and stuff like that, that are, 5-10 minutes, but I wanted to recap all of the trades that we saw at the trade deadline, because it was the craziest deadline that I remember. It had included the biggest trade in maybe sports history, which we will obviously get to. That is something that I've talked about ad nauseum because of the fact that I am a Laker fan, and it was the best thing that's happened to me in the last month and a half. Besides, you guys know what I mean. But just what a phenomenal trade deadline. Enough to the fact where it's Super Bowl week, and the trade deadline and the NBA has been more prevalent in national sports conversation than the Super Bowl, which is wild. I don't think anybody expected it to happen, especially because the NBA is literally going through its worst season ratings-wise in a while. But let's get into the trades. These are trades that happened from February 1st to February 6th, so basically the last week of the deadline. And the minor trades were just picks being swapped back and forth, or a minor level player. Did not cover those because there's already 17 trades to get to talk about without getting into those. So I just wanted to talk about the bigger moves, and I will be giving grades, but let's get right into it. The Clippers traded for Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills. They gave up Mo Bamba, PJ Tucker, a second round pick, and some cash to the Jazz. Now, PJ Tucker has been traded 5 times since then. Mo Bamba got cut right away, so the Jazz basically got a second round pick for Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills. 2 guys that are good basketball players, but they don't fit their timeline because they are a, rebuilding team. So I gave the Jazz a C+ for the return that they got back. I think Drew Eubanks and Patty Mills will be good bench contributors for a team like the Clippers that hopes to contend in the playoffs in 2 months from now. So I gave them a B for it. After that, we had, like I said, the biggest trade in sports history potentially. The Lakers get Luka Doncic, Markieff Morris, Maxi Kleber. They send Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the 2029 first-round pick to Dallas. And they also send Jalen Hood-Schifino and 2 first-round and 2 seconds to the Jazz. The Jazz get a B- in my opinion. I think Jalen Hood-Schifino is a good prospect to just take a chance on. At the same time, Danny Ainge, known Laker hater, Boston Celtics guy, you helped us get Luka Doncic. Thank you, dude. So B- for them. The Mavs have gotten killed, and rightfully so. No one trades a 2025 or a 25-year-old superstar and before they even enter their prime. First team all NBA, 5 years already, more than Steph. However, you get Anthony Davis, you get Max Christie, and you get a first-round pick. Now, Anthony Davis, obviously, for the next 2 to 3 seasons, is going to be an elite contributor for you alongside the core that you have right now. And a guy like Max Christie has already shown what he can do with more playing time and a bigger role in Dallas. He has balled out in the first 2 games that he's played, both of which they have won. And I think Max Christie is a great piece that they'll have for the future. AD is for the now. I gave them a B-. And then obviously for the Lakers, I don't think you can quantify how good of a deal this is for them. I gave them an A++++++++, because once again, you cannot quantify how good of a deal this was for the Los Angeles Lakers. Moving on, the Spurs get De'Aaron Fox from the Kings. The Spurs get De'Aaron Fox and Jordan McLaughlin. I gave them an A+ for that. De'Aaron Fox pairs perfectly with Victor Wembanyama. I think just a pick and roll combination with the two, given De'Aaron's speed, how just alien Victor Wembanyama is already, and you have them for the future. And you didn't give up any of your young assets, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan. You didn't give up any of them. The Kings got Zach LaVine, Sidi Suzuki, 3 firsts and 3 seconds back. I gave them a C. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Domantas Sabonis as your core, pretty good. Zach LaVine is on the wrong side of 30. DeMar DeRozan is old. And Domantas Sabonis is still having a phenomenal season and got snubbed for the All-Star game. I gave them a C, mostly because the first-round picks that they got back are all bad. The Hornets pick looks good, but it has a bunch of protections on it, so it won't convey. So for that reason, I gave them a C. The Bulls get Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, and a first back. Once again, this is a rebuilding team. They get back some money to match salary. They get a first-round pick. I gave them a B. Once again, I think the Spurs with De'Aaron and Wemby are going to be awesome, especially next season. Moving on, the Mavericks get Caleb Martin. The Sixers get Quentin Grimes and a second-round pick. Caleb Martin, once again, fits the timeline for the Dallas Mavericks. They're trying to win right now. B for that. The Sixers get Quentin Grimes in a second. Now, Quentin Grimes will be a free agent, I think, this offseason, so they will have to pay him if they want to keep him. But I gave them an A. You got a pick back, you get a second-round pick. Those are still valuable. Guys like Max Christie, Austin Reeves, second-round picks. But also, I think Quentin Grimes next season as kind of like your defensive-minded guard alongside Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain is a really, really good bet to make. Now, they didn't move on from Paul George, which I think is fine. I think healthy next season with a lineup of, I'm assuming, Tyrese McCain, Paul George, Yershon Yabusele, if they re-sign him, and Joel Embiid, if healthy, with Quentin Grimes off the bench among the other pieces like Kelly Oubre Jr. I think this is still a very deep roster, and you just added more depth for the future in a young guy like Quentin Grimes. So you get an A, Mavericks get a B. Caleb Martin will contribute, but, I think Quentin Grimes might have been like the better overall player, but he just wasn't needed. 5, the Thunder get Daniel Theis and a second for the from the Pelicans, and the Pelicans just got cash considerations. A for the Thunder, you got a second-round pick and Daniel Theis. If Chet Holmgren has an injury history, Isaiah Hartenstein has had some injuries, decent backup. And you get a second-round pick to boot to add more picks. Then set number 6, the Kings got Jonas Valanciunas. The Wizards get Sidy Cissoko, so he got moved after the De'Aaron Fox deal in 2 seconds. I gave the Wizards a B. I feel like you could have gotten more for Jonas Valanciunas. I feel like he was literally signed just to trade him at the deadline. I think that was the whole point of them signing him in the offseason. And I gave the Kings a B+, good backup center. I think that's the point where he is in his career, just a backup big, not having to play a lot of minutes every night. Can play if DeMontis gets hurt. But I feel like the Wizards could have gotten more, so I gave them a B. Kings got a B+. Very weird roster for Sacramento, but you do you. Then the Hornets got Yusuf Nurkic and a 2026 first from the Phoenix Suns. They traded away Cody Martin, Vasilij Micic in a second. I gave the Suns a C. Once again, Cody Martin is a piece that helps them contend now with whatever amalgamation of a roster they have surrounding KD, Book, and Bradley Beal. They wanted to get rid of Yusuf Nurkic. He wasn't getting along with Budenholzer. It wasn't working out. They did give up a first-round pick. Now, in next season, who knows what happens with the Suns? They're obviously not playing great right now, but who knows what happens with them next season? So, and then on the Hornets side, you get a first-round pick back. You get Yusuf Nurkic. You probably won't play a lot. You did just trade away a center, though, so there's some minutes available. You can trade them in the offseason or whatever else. I give them a B+. C for the Phoenix Suns, just because I think, I don't know, you gave up a pick, and I don't know. The Suns are just a weird team to me. 8, the Pistons get Dennis Schroeder and Lindy Waters and a second-round pick. The Jazz get KJ Martin and a second-round pick. This is part of the 5-team trade to get Jimmy Butler to Golden State. But on the NBA website, when I was making notes for this video, they were listed separately and then also added into that. So I'll just cover them now separately. Detroit is having a really good season. The Eastern Conference is obviously weaker to the Western Conference, so Detroit is looking at a playoff run. I think Dennis Schroeder is a great backup point guard to have to back up Cade Cunningham, who made the All-Star team for the first time. So I gave the Pistons an A. Jazz get KJ Martin in a second. C+ for them. They're just racking up second-round picks, but I don't know how much of an impact KJ Martin has. I think obviously Dennis Schroeder wasn't really going to stay there anyways, but C+ for them. I feel like they could have gotten a little bit more. Then also part of the big trade, but listed separately, the Raptors get PJ Tucker, a second-round pick in cash. The Heat get Davion Mitchell. I gave the Raptors a B for this. Once again, this is a guy that was barely on their team. They just kind of moved the pieces, and NBA.com aggregated it this way. However, in the essence of the deal, I feel like maybe Davion Mitchell would have been worth keeping on for, given that you have a young roster. I don't really know what you're going to do with PJ Tucker. PJ Tucker is a good wet to have with a young guy like Scotty Barnes, Grady Dick, and the other pieces that you got. The Heat getting Davion Mitchell, I think that is a great deal for them. Tyler Hero is obviously going to be your offensive engine now, him and Bam. After the Jimmy Butler deal, you got Andrew Wiggins too. We'll talk about that in a second. But I think Davion Mitchell is a very good defensive guard. He's still young. He could grow offensively and then even further increase his ceiling as a NBA player. But he's great defensively. Then at number 10, or once again, these aren't ranked. I just number them because I have a little OCD. The Clippers get Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Hawks for Terrence Mann, Bones Highland, and 3 seconds. Now, once again, this is a move that fits the timeline. Terrence Mann and Bones Highland are younger players. Bones Highland barely plays, which doesn't make sense. Yes, he is not the best defensively. Yes, he, even like the 2 minutes I saw him play versus the Lakers in garbage time, picked up a bad foul, and the announcers were talking about his discipline and things of that nature. But he's still a good young player. Same with Terrence Mann. I've actually really liked Terrence Mann's game. I hate the Clippers with a passion, but I really liked Terrence Mann's game since he got into the league. The Hawks also get 3 second-round picks from the Clippers. I just feel like they could have gotten a little bit more. Terrence Mann's contract is also really big, and it looks like this team is kind of blowing everything up besides Zachary Rissache. Right after the deadline, Chris Haynes was like, Trae Young's future is very much up in the air because they traded literally all of the pieces around him that would make this team a contender. So I'm assuming that Trae Young doesn't want to stay there any longer. But once again, Terrence Mann's contract notwithstanding, B+ for the Hawks. For the Clippers, unfortunately, I gave them an A. I think they deserve it. I think this is a really good move, and I think the Clippers tend to do this every trade deadline. Lawrence Frank is a pretty good GM. Not as good as Rob Pelinka, but a really good GM. Bogdan Bogdanovic gives them a little bit more of that offensive firepower that they need. They were already one of the best teams in the NBA defensively. The Lakers did cook them a couple days ago, but they were the best team one of the best teams in the NBA defensively. I think Bogdan Bogdanovic just gives you a little bit more juice offensively as well, which this team needs because James Harden is kind of carrying, and Kawhi Leonard just doesn't have the ability that he had like 4 or 5 seasons ago to just be a great two-way player. He still has his moments and flashes, but just watching that Laker game, Kawhi Leonard looks like a shell of his former self, unfortunately, because of all the injuries. Still on a minutes restriction. I think Bogdan Bogdanovic is a great move. Moving on to a trade that I did not understand whatsoever from either side. Actually, I understood it from the Wizards side, but still, the Bucks get Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin, Jericho Sims, and a second-round pick. The Wizards get Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and a pick swap in 2028, and the Knicks get Delon Wright and cash. So for the Knicks, you give up Jericho Sims, your backup center, but you get Delon Wright back. Decent backup point guard. Good veteran, decent backup point guard, just salaries match. You gave up Jericho Sims. You're probably not going to pay him. Doesn't play a lot. You have Mitchell Robinson. It is what it is. The Wizards, you get Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and the 2028 pick swap with the Bucks. That pick, the Bucks are probably going to be good unless Giannis gets hurt, Giannis leaves, something like that. You never know what'll happen in the NBA. That's a weird fair point, but you get the pick swap to hold on to. AJ Johnson is a good young piece to add to this rebuilding team. Chris Middleton, and then you didn't deal him. You're not going to buy him out. You're going to keep Chris Middleton. You're going to let him hoop. That's fine. Chris Middleton's still a good basketball player, but it just doesn't fit the timeline. And then for the Bucks, Patrick Baldwin, decent rookie. Jericho Sims is a good backup center. Kyle Kuzma is not the difference maker that you think he is for this roster, in my opinion. I don't think Kyle Kuzma is going to lift the ceiling anymore. He's younger. That's the only thing he has going for him compared to Chris Middleton, in my opinion. His shot has always been streaky. He has, awful fashion sense off the court. That's an entirely separate thing. But I just don't think that this trade made a lot of sense for Milwaukee. I got the sense that it's kind of just like making a move for the sake of making a move to keep your stars happy with Dame and Giannis, but I gave them a C+. The Wizards get a B-, the Knicks get a B. Moving on to the other trade that the Lakers made. The Lakers get Mark Williams. They give up Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 first unprotected, and a 2030 pick swap. This was a lot to give up for Mark Williams, but at the same time, he's a 23-year-old. He is athletic as hell. He has the longest standing reach in NBA history, longer than Wemby somehow. And on top of that, he fits the timeline with Luka, and Luka got traded, and the one thing that he asked for was a center and a lob threat. And Mark Williams is for sure a lob threat. Now, there have been concerns about effort and injury. The injuries have not been like chronic ones or like the same things again and again or anything involving surgery, which is good. Effort-wise, he played for the Hornets. I think we got to give him some slack. I don't think I would want to try if I was playing basketball for the Charlotte Hornets. No offense. But for the Hornets, I love this return for them. Not only do you get our 2031 first, which is one of the most valuable picks in the NBA overall, because who knows where the Lakers roster is going to be in 6 years, you also get the swap in 2030, so you kind of have 2 years worth of Laker picks if you want them. And on top of that, you get Dalton Knecht, who is a very, very, very promising rookie, was like up there for Rookie of the Year, has had some elite games, and I'm genuinely so sad to see him go. I'm very happy that we got Mark Williams and the deal makes sense to me, but Dalton Knecht is a great young rookie, 23 years old. He is older than Mark Williams somehow, even though Mark Williams has been in the league for 3 years, but you know, Dalton Knecht is a really good player. Him, LaMelo, that offense should be fun to watch. I gave the Lakers an A- because I think they gave up maybe a little bit too much, but they also kind of had to. Because, once you make that Luka deal without giving up anything, like, other teams are going to ask for more. And also the center market, like Rob Pelinka said, I think there were more buyers on the center market than there were centers available. So supply and demand, oldest rule of the land, you just got to pay up a little bit more. And the Hornets get an A for getting a lot of value. How I was kind of thinking about it is basically Dalton Knecht and that 2031 first were supposed to be part of the AD trade for Luka, and Rob Pelinka negotiated that down, so he used those pieces to go get another guy. You keep Rui, you keep Gabe Vincent, you keep Austin Reeves. You can make a salary type move later if you want to. The Lakers don't have another draft pick that they control for like 8 seasons, but that's okay. You built the roster, you used it to get a good young piece. Moving on to maybe my favorite non-Laker trade, the Cavaliers get DeAndre Hunter, the Hawks get Caris LeVert, Georges Niang, 3 seconds, and 2 pick swaps. I gave the Hawks a B-. Once again, I don't get the point of having a guy that has the potential to be a generational star, and Trae Young has shown that he can carry a team deep into the playoffs, has shown that he is a very, 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 very good NBA player, and then you just traded all of the pieces that you had surrounding him. And literally what's left is Zachary Ricochet. I don't get it. I don't get it, Atlanta. So the Hawks get a B-. I also think that they probably could have gotten more from Cleveland. Cleveland, on the other hand, Caris LeVert, okay, Georges Niang, decent depth piece. I have a friend that's a Cavs fan that absolutely hated him and thought he was trash. It is what it is. He probably knows more because he watches more Cavs games. But Caris LeVert, you know, since the bubble run and stuff like that, he hasn't been, like, elite. But DeAndre Hunter, he's been scoring like 20 points a game. He's a really great defender. You now have DeAndre Hunter, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen as your front court starting. You got Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell as your offensive engines. This is a very, very good lineup. Already the 1 seed in the East, and they got better. A+ for them. 14, the Warriors get Jimmy Butler in 2 seconds. The Heat get Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and Davion Mitchell, as I just mentioned, and a 2025 first from the Warriors. It is protected, I think. B- for the Heat. I think, once again, Jimmy kind of negotiated down their leverage. Everybody knew that this trade had to happen, so they were in a bad spot. Still think they could have gotten a little bit more given how desperate the Warriors were. For the Warriors, I gave them an A-. You get 2 seconds back. And also, you get Jimmy Butler. Now, you did give him a 2-year, $110 million deal, which, given everything Jimmy's done this season, I don't know how smart that was. Once again, though, Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler are now all signed for 2 years each, so they have a little window to contend for a championship. Maybe try and add something in free agency or the draft if they can. Who knows? But, you know, you still got Brandon Podziemski, you still got Trace Jackson Davis, you still had some decent players. They came back on the Lakers yesterday with missing a lot of guys because, like, obviously they traded a lot of assets left. They came back and there were some no-name players that were playing really good basketball against the Lakers. So, once again, I think this team got a lot better than it was. Jimmy Butler is still a major upgrade over Andrew Wiggins, and I think Andrew Wiggins can be pretty good in Miami if he buys into Heat culture. So, like I said, the Heat get a B-, the Warriors get an A- from me. 16, the Raptors get Brandon Ingram for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a first-round pick, and a second-round pick. Once again, it makes sense for the Pelicans to trade him. DeJounte Murray, Brandon Ingram, and Zion literally played 0 games together because of all the injuries that they have on their roster just combined. I gave the Pelicans a B plus for the return that they got back for BI. He's on the final year of his deal, so you lose some revenues there. You still got back 2 picks. I think Bruce Brown is a good player for this team to have. I think he's a good veteran. Kelly Olynyk is a decent backup big, but the Raptors are getting Brandon Ingram. I gave that an A. Grady Dick, Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes is your core. I think is pretty good, provided they stay healthy, provided maybe you sign Brandon Ingram long term, obviously. But even if you don't, you gave up 2 picks and like 2 guys that didn't really fit your timeline anyways. So it's a low risk, high reward deal in my opinion. So A for the Raptors, B plus for the Pelicans. And then the last trade that we had, the Wizards get Marcus Smart, Colby Jones, Alex Len, and a 2025 first round pick. The Grizzlies get 2 seconds, Marvin Bagley and Johnny Davis, and the Kings get Jake LaRavia. Kings get B, decent depth piece, decent role player. Once again, the Kings roster, kind of like the Suns, doesn't make sense to me, but it is what it is. The Wizards, I gave a B plus. I think this is more so the Grizzlies wanting to get off of Marvin Daniels or Marcus Smart's contract. Maybe he gets bought out by the Wizards, who knows? But you got a 2025 first round pick. B plus, you're still a rebuilding team. You can use that to get someone. And then the Grizzlies, they get an A for me. I think Marvin Bagley as your backup to Jaren Jackson or Zach Edey, a backup big, pretty good. Johnny Davis is an intriguing young prospect. Like, I remember watching him in college. He was really good. And you get 2 second round picks. So A plus, or not A, but an A, not an A plus, an A for the Grizzlies. And those are the 17 big deals that happened in the last week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and there will be a lot more NBA content coming soon. Obviously, we only got one more game left in football season in about 48 hours. So we'll be pivoting to a lot more basketball content, and I'm really excited for it. Thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and like this video. Peace.